Every car enthusiast has daydreamed about a wagon at least once in their life. It's almost as if they're the perfect combination of practicality and understated coolness. However, the wagon is actually feels like it's on its way out because more and more people are opting for the popular crossovers. And the esteemed wagon, well, just doesn't sell enough for the manufacturers to continue making them in large quantities. But then Subaru said, "Hold my kirin Ichiban," and came up with this, the WRX Wagon. Now on this episode of Behind the Wheel, we're obviously going to go through the practicality of it because it's a wagon, its comfort inside, and because of its drivetrain, we're going to take it out on twisty roads and find out just exactly how much fun it can be with the boxer engine. But I also want to find out if this WRX, because of its price, can be a statement from all the other wagons out there, as if to say to all the crossovers out there that you can try to face me out, but I ain't going nowhere. A ver? Let's find out. Are you looking to compare prices for your brand new car? Well then, visit AutoDeal.com.ph, select the car that you want, and choose to request for a quote from our network of over 500 official dealer partners nationwide. Within minutes, you'll start receiving offers from the dealers you've selected. All that's left is for you to select the deal that's best for you. Get the best deal on AutoDeal. Allow me to bring you back down to earth for just a moment because I want to start with its price. The GTS EyeSight, which is what this model is, comes in at 2,658,000 Philippine pesos, and that is definitely expensive. I ain't gonna lie to you. But as far as wagons go, there aren't really many choices that you have out there. For instance, you do have the option of the Mazda 6 wagon, which is very nice and comes in at a more affordable price of 2,100,000 Philippine pesos. But then if you move up in price point, you're looking at the BMW 318 Touring, which comes in at a whopping 3,890,000 Philippine pesos. Ouch. So this actually sits, well, very comfortably above the Mazda 6, but well below the BMW. However, it has got a hell of a lot more power. This hood scoop actually has a purpose. Unlike those cars that carry a 1.2-liter engine and have spoilers as big as a mango tree, or crossovers that have 700 exhaust tips, which Jack just absolutely loves. This has a purpose. Open her up and you'll see the intercooler, which is about as big as George Foreman's grill. And then underneath that is a 2.4-liter four-cylinder boxer engine that is turbocharged, mated to a CVT and an all-wheel drive system. Now, I know what you're thinking, a CVT, not a traditional automatic. I gotta be honest with you, me too. I thought the exact same thing. That is until I actually drove it, which, wow, it'll surprise you and we'll get to a little bit later. But at this point, if you are wondering about fuel efficiency, I can tell you that in the city, it does about 7 kilometers per liter, and on the highway, it does 14. Now, considering that this thing pushes out 275 horses and 350 Newton meters of torque, I expected worse returns. But actually, that's not bad. The front clip of the WRX is, well, it's not flashy or elegant, much like, let's say, for example, the Mazda 6. And it's definitely not as menacing looking as the RS6 Avant, because that thing is like a beast. But it does have what I already said earlier, which is it's got an understated coolness to it. It's not exactly going to attract, let's say, for example, a 21-year-old or a 25-year-old to get this automobile. But for somebody that's, let's say, for example, in their early 30s or way above their 40s like myself, this thing actually looks pretty darn good. And then it's got some more style to it down the side because you are looking at 18-inch wheels strapped in 45 series tires. These tires, yet something that shocked me yet again of this automobile, because with thin tires, you'd expect the NVH to be a little loud, not so good, right? Again, we'll shock you. We'll talk about that a little bit later. The ground clearance isn't that much because it's all of 140 millimeters of ground clearance, but I can tell you it is more than enough to take on speed bumps properly. You don't want to fly over them, right? If, however, you're looking for an estate with a heck of a lot more ground clearance, then take a look at our video of the Outback, because that thing has got 213 millimeters of ground clearance. Much more bagay to this setting out here, really. Jack chose this, I don't know why. At the rear, I gotta show you something because Jack fell in love with this automobile just simply because of the rear. He's a butt guy. The rear is very large, very wide, very clean looking. The lights have a nice looking shape to it. It does kind of annoy me though that there are two reverse lights that you can see here, but only one actually works. I find that strange. I like the large pane of glass. I like the spoiler with the third brake light. And then just underneath the buttocks, as Jack mentioned, you will find two very real, very massive exhausts. Unfortunately, the car doesn't make a lot of noise, even with these large exhausts, which is fine for me because it really goes with the theme of it being very understated. Very cool. When you open her up, you have a tonneau for your convenience, but when you retract that, you are looking at 492 liters of space, which is really a lot. How much? Well, I'll show you. It's easily enough to fit at least two balikbayan boxes comfortably. One there and one on the other side. Look at that. That is a lot of space. And then obviously when you fold it, you're looking at almost 1,500 liters of space, which can easily occupy or rather carry 6 balikbayan boxes. That is ridiculous. Now, the car on its own is already a very, very cool car. The way it drives, the way it rides, the way it handles. But there are two things here at the rear that I want to show you which I find really, really cool. Number one is the fact that there are levers on either side of the automobile, and when you click them, it folds the seat just like that. Ain't that cool? And then the second thing is the reason why you can fit so many balikbayan boxes in there is because it's flat from here all the way to the back. Look at that. So practicality is most definitely a check. Now, when you get inside the cabin itself, there are pros and cons, and thankfully, the pros actually outweigh the cons. For instance, the pros. I like the fact that there are analog gauges still inside this automobile with a small trip computer in the center. It makes me feel very engaged with the automobile, and most Subarus are that way too. I like the steering wheel, the fact that it's flat on the bottom. Buttons are very nice to the touch, actually. They give very good feedback. Even the paddles on this thing feel like they're very, very good. And it's wrapped very, very well. The infotainment screen is 11.6 inches, and it's got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which I like. You have 2 USB charging points found at the bottom, and even an auxiliary point right beside the 12-volt socket. You've got a large cubbyhole here with cash. Ooh, thanks, Jack. You've got a large cubby hole here and 2 cup holders found here in the center, and then bottle holders on either door. You also have memory seats inside this automobile. That is part of the fact that this is very, very well bolstered. It feels very, very good. So those are most of the pros. Now, these are the cons that I found that I expected a bit more at this price point, as we previously just mentioned. But it's not as if the car doesn't drive or work well, because it does. These are just some of the creature comforts that you kind of wish that they had put in there. Like, let's say, for example, maybe it would have been nice if there were ventilated seats. That doesn't mean that it's not a good drive, which, again, we'll get to. The rear seats are actually quite as comfortable as the front seats because they are bolstered well. They feel good to the touch, and it gives you very good support. Amenities back there include 2 air vents found in the center. Underneath that, 2 USB charging points. You have a center armrest with 2 cup holders and bottle holders on either door. The drawback is that the air vents could have been a little bit stronger, sort of like as strong as the anchor points of the ISOFIX extenders that are found back there, but I just expected a little bit more air to come out. But at least there are there, and it's good. The problem, though, is that there is a tunnel in the rear that is quite high. So 2 adults in the back, no issues. A third, that might be a problem. However, one of its aces, apart from how it drives and handles, is the fact that this car has Subaru's eyesight. Now, we've spoken lengthily on it on, Jack, what car again was it?
Crosstrek.
The Crosstrek. And if you'd like to see how it operates, you can check out the video. The links are somewhere down below. It's just very intuitive, and it doesn't feel like a machine is operating your vehicle. It feels like there's another person or a pilot that's driving your car in traffic, and it's absolutely great. So there's that, and that probably will add to the price point again of this automobile. But really, the biggest talking point about this car is really just how it drives and it handles. And if you'll join me, I'd love to show you exactly how. But before you do, consider subscribing to our channel. We are ever so close to hitting 500,000 subscribers, and we need all your help to get there because we create these videos just for you guys. Yeah, baby! Woo. There is a really good punch of torque. You really can feel it. And then when the turbo kicks in, oh man, it will keep kicking till the very top of the rev range. It just won't quit. It's sad, however, that regardless of how large the exhaust tips are, there isn't a better exhaust note. But then, if you think about it, it goes hand in hand with the automobile because the exterior is understated, and so I guess it doesn't have to show off. It knows it's got the power, it just doesn't need to tell anybody about it. Now, as I previously mentioned, this is mated to a CVT, not your conventional 6-speed or 8-speed automatic. And I thought really that was going to be a hassle. But the truth is, no, not at all. I have made mention before that I enjoy the CVTs of Honda because I think they're really great. But this CVT, with this amount of power, plus when you put it into sport, which I just have, and have a play with the paddles, oh wow, it's really, really good. And it's not just here on the twisties where you can actually feel it sort of like surge in and really put you in your seat. Not just then, but even in traffic, it doesn't feel like a CVT where it sort of like needs to slowly climb out of a hole before delivering the power and pushing you. No, this thing, you just step on it and boom, I'm on my way. Jeez, this is a CVT? Ha, nip! Much like also the exhaust, the NVH is actually very, very good inside this car. When you're either driving like a hoodlum or when you finally settle down and drive properly, as I am finally right now, it's joyous to drive, it's comfortable, and there's really not a lot of road noise that come in. Now, earlier I mentioned the 45 series tires, and I thought that they would be noisy. No, either they're not noisy or the NVH inside this car is really, really good. And I'm thinking it's the latter. Oh, and also, even if, now this is supposedly, okay, even if you take this car to 160 kilometers per hour, which I'm not saying that we did, but even at that speed, you can't hear anything outside. You're sitting inside this car going, it's 160 kilometers per hour? Jack, baka you want to slow down. I said too much.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. The suspension might not be to the liking to some people because in a car with this much power, you're expecting, or they would rather expect, something a little bit more firm, something a little bit more rigid, really. But in all honesty, I think that the suspension is softer in this sense because it's trying to make it as comfortable as possible for all the passengers inside the automobile. That's not to say that this thing can't take corners, well, not naman on a dime, but take corners at speed and briskly. Yes, it can, but you will feel that the suspension does give a little bit more than you might be used to. Well, we're also saying this because we just came from driving the BRZ, which, by the way, the links are somewhere down below. And that, of course, the suspension is much, much stiffer. This is an estate saloon, right? So you're basically, what I'm trying to get at is the suspension feel of this car is right up the alley of what this car is and is delivering. And I don't know if it's just this car or Subarus in general, but the visibility inside this automobile is fantastic. The A-pillars are not large at all, and then it pairs it pa with the quarter windows, and you can see through. It's not enough that the windshield is big, but really I can see everything on the road. Now, you may be wondering why I'm completely over the moon about visibility, but because actually it does a lot to your confidence and to your driving style and how you really behave on the road. Because in all honesty, the more you see, the better you are prepared for anything and everything that happens on the road.
The monkey see, monkey do.
Monkey see, monkey do. Overtaking, even on an incline, this thing, it's just effortless. It's redonkulous, man. Look at this. Oh my goodness. And then I can get to become a hoodlum once again. Yeah! And I can because I can see everything. Oh, Jack, hold on to your lunch. Look at that. It's like, this is a CVT? Unbelievable. When we take a car out to shoot it, Jack and I are normally inside the automobile for anywhere between 4 to 5 hours. This is, of course, after we've had the car for a couple of days and get to really know the automobile and feel for it as best as we can. And in all the days and in all the hours that we've spent either on the highway or in traffic, not once have either of us, be behind the steering wheel or in the front passenger seat, have ever felt fatigued at all. When you're on the highway, the car is just so behaved. It's very, very responsive on the throttle. When you're in traffic, again, the eyesight is just really good because if you flip it on, when your right foot is tired, although I don't know how it's going to be tired and it's an automatic, but yet it's very, very intuitive. It feels like it's a person that's driving it for you. There is, however, going to be some people out there who are not estate buyers that are going to ask 3 very, very important questions. And I feel you. And those 3 questions are the following. Is it the perfect combination of practicality and performance? I really think it's a good blend. Can it move a decent amount of cargo and families at the same time? We've obviously shown that, yes. Will it leave you with a smile from ear to ear like a Cheshire cat every time that you step on it? Absolutely. While it does have its shortcomings, and at this, sorry to mention this again, price point, you'd expect those shortcomings to be flattened out and ironed out, I think that its performance really just overshadows all of that. And then to bring it back to the question, one of the original questions that we had at the beginning of this program, which was, can the WRX be the statement from all the other wagons out there to all the crossovers out there to say that it is definitely going to be here? Will it save the wagon? The truth is, because of this car, the wagon, I think, doesn't need saving. Because of this car, I really believe that the wagon is here to stay for quite some time. Well, I hope.